Hello, let's talk about ink. I'll show you the Stampin' Up! Ink pads, markers, and re-inkers. I'm Sally Allen, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm stamping with gas. In front of me you see 5 ink pads, and they are the current in color stamping pads, which means they last for 2 years and there's only 5 in a set. Here is a regular ink pad, so they look the same, except this one is plain and the in color ones have the little in color box right there to tell you that it's an in color. I used to mark mine with a black marker so that I knew what the in colors were, and I don't have to do that anymore because Stampin' Up! Has done that for me. For each color, I have Just Jade, Magenta Madness, Bumblebee, Misty Moonlight, and Cinnamon Cider. My 2 favorites are the Magenta Madness and the Just Jade, and I'll show you a card that I did with the 2 of them together. It's just luscious. I just love these bright colors. I do love the blue. It's different than any we've had before. And the Cinnamon Cider is exciting for me for fall coming up and for the holidays. It's a different brown. It kind of has a little reddish tone to it, and I really like that. And then Bumblebee is a gold, deep gold yellow that I really enjoyed. And you can see on this card too, it's perfect for the sunflower. And here's the Bumblebee strip of DSP there. All right, I'm going to get this paper out of my way and start with the Magenta Madness. To open your ink pad, just lift it up and slide it. And this is how you're going to use your ink pad. I'm just going to work right here on my grid paper, and I'm going to grab 2 blocks. We talked about our blocks before. I'm going to use this Cling stamp set, Healing Hugs, and I'll take my rose, and it's really clingy, so they stick on there very well, and my little leaves. And I can see through the other side of my clear block. Now my stamps look dirty, but they are not. They're just a little bit stained, and that happens especially with your deep, rich colors. As long as you clean them off in between uses, you'll be okay. If you don't clean them off, eventually they'll degrade and you won't be able to use them. So here's the rose here. And when I ink up my pad, I am just going to tap, tap, tap. You never want to rub like this or rub up and down. It'll make a mess and you'll get ink on the wrong parts of the stamp. So just tap, tap, tap. And if you have a rather large stamp, you can pick up your stamp pad and tap, 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 just to make sure you've gotten everything covered. So I'll want to press down, and there's my rose. I'm going to stamp off, which means I'm not going to re-ink my stamp, and I'm going to press again. So you can see the difference. This one is much lighter and this one is much deeper. So you can use your grid paper. That's what it's for. Practice on that before you start your project. Let's look at the little leaves here, and I'm going to stamp off a couple of times. So I'll take my leaf stamp, tap, tap, tap. I can put it, let's pretend like that's my project, and I can not stamp off and put it up here again. So I've got the 2 different, but let's do them in a row so that you can see. I've got my deep, rich color. I've got a not so dark color, and then a lighter, much paler color. So that's called stamping off, and you'll find yourself using that a lot. But again, use a scrap piece of paper or your grid paper to practice before you really get on your project. Now notice that I have the water-based marker. It's called a Stampin' Write. You can write with it just like it says, because it has the fine tip, and then it has the brush tip. And you notice that the ink matches perfectly to The ink in the pen matches the ink in the pad, as does my papers. So you see, Stampin' Up! Has thought of everything. Instead of standing at the craft store and thinking in my mind, this is the card or the scrapbook page I have in mind, and I find the perfect piece of cardstock, but then I can't find any printed paper that goes with it. Never mind the stamp pad. I may never find that and just go with basic black. So Stampin' Up! Has taken the guesswork out of everything for us, because they give us the stamp pad, the paper, that's the cardstock, the Stampin' Write marker, and our re-inker. Now the re-inker, I recommend you always buy re-inker. Whether you buy 5 stamp pads or 1, get your re-inker. You will use it often, and nothing is more frustrating than being in the middle of a big project and your stamp pad starts to go dry. And then you have to put everything aside or beg somebody to borrow their re-inker. So always get that re-inker. Down the road a little bit, I will show some projects about using your re-inker all by itself for some different techniques. Okay. Now, let's see. If you are using an image that you stamp and then you're going to color it in with your marker, you'll need StazOn ink, because it's permanent and it won't run when you go to color in with your Stampin' Write markers. So StazOn Jet Blank ink. If you buy that, you also need this StazOn stamp cleaner. And it's because this one is a solvent ink, so it takes a solvent to remove it. And you don't want, I've heard people have left it on their stamps for days and reused it, and it eventually ate away their stamp. So don't do that. Every day when you're finished with it, clean it with your StazOn ink pad cleaner. We also have basic black and a basic black marker. Now, in the catalog on page 142 and 143, the color families go like this: brights, neutrals, regals, and then over here we have the subtles, the basics, which is your black, very vanilla, bronze, ivory, and your in colors down here. Now pay attention to the years on the in color, because here's 2022. So these just came out in June and they'll go for 2 years, and then this one is 2019 to 2021. So if you don't already have these and you kind of want a starter set, I recommend to start with the current year of the in color collection. The reason is you see how many colors are in a color family. So with this, if you get your in colors, you get a pretty basic start to your stamp colors. So you've got a green, a yellow, a blue, a brown, and then if you get your basic black, then you can use that to stamp your images and your greetings. So let's see if we covered everything. Yes, we have. So that's about it for ink. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you next time.